both been playing Silksong since it came out on Thursday. So for the last couple of days, I put almost 8 hours in on day one. And Devin, I know you streamed it for a day, so I think you have played what, 6 hours? 5, 6, 4?
Probably 5 to 6. Yes.
5 to 6. Okay. So this will be a good kind of first impressions on the game after 6 to 8 hours. I think we're both still in Act 1, kind of in the beginning areas of the game. But I think we do have quite a bit of experience with the game and context now, so I think this will be a pretty good like first impressions on the game. Super high level, Devin. What do you think here while I get past this ad?
I would like to start off by saying I'm grateful to be here. I'm absolutely obsessed with the game. After 4 hours or so of being inside of this world, I thought to myself, I could play this if I didn't need to sleep until the end of the game.
Yeah, I think that is my impression too. Is I think it's excellent, like such an awesome follow up to the first game, um, and I think the highest praise I can give it at this point is that I would rather turn the show off right now and just keep playing. Um,
Oh,
and it is crazy. I There's only a few games in my life that have really grabbed me like in that way of like I have to finish this. Or I like there's nothing I want to be doing besides playing this game until I have finished it. And like I can think of like Animal Well was kind of that way for me. The original Breath of the Wild I thought was really awesome that way too, even though I like Tears of the Kingdom better. Um I mean, there's been probably like some others like the original Hollow Knight. I really liked Nine Souls. I think it usually happens in games where there's a bit of exploration because it's just exciting to like explore, see what the world kind of holds and what secrets are out there hidden, and just not knowing that I think is what pulls me forward, like the exploration angle to it. Um, but I think high level, yeah, that's kind of my thought too. Is man, this is so good. And after all of the like hype and wait for the game for 6, 7 years, I think a lot of people, including myself, were kind of afraid of like we're putting like an impossible level of hype on this game that will ever be able to keep up with. And maybe by the end of the game, I won't like it as much as I loved Hollow Knight the first time I played it. But I think the first impression it gives is like, wow, this is super excellent. Characters are cool. Art's even more beautiful. The gameplay is like just as solid, but maybe more fast and like adaptable even. Um, the game's a bit smoother, I think, running at 120 frames, and it doesn't have any bugs or problems. I think they released it, probably took a bunch of extra time, I would imagine, in the last 6 months to a year to just make sure, like, okay, we only have one chance for people's first impression of Silksong, and we need it to be like just so good. And I think they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I saw zero issues.
me too. And other than the only bad experience I had with the game was after you kind of climb out of the pit at the very beginning, I was like, oh, I just got to Bone Bottom, and there's this hole right here next to the bench. That's like the first bench. I want to know what's down that hole. And I probably should have put like these things together, but I didn't. You don't have a map at that point. And that hole leads right back to the bottom of that pit where you started the game at. And so it was a little bit weird to like get through the first 25 minutes of the game and then immediately fall back down to the beginning just because I was a little more explorative than I maybe should have been. But other than that one little thing, and I don't know how they would have fixed it. Maybe just like a sign that I don't even know if a sign would fix it because I don't know that I knew the name of that area when I was first starting. So maybe that hole doesn't need to be there, and the way back down is down through the cathedral. like with that cloaked lady that laughed at you. I'm not sure, but my point being that's such like a tiny little nitpick that didn't matter and only took me like 60 seconds to climb back up anyways. So other than that one little thing, I agree. No bad impressions at all. I thought maybe we'd go into each of the different like parts of the game in a little more detail. It is a little interesting that they're going with an act structure as opposed to with the first game it was just kind of like explore, 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 and I'm fighting bosses, but I really have no idea. Well, you know what? Now that I say that, they didn't put acts on the screen, but after you got in the first game to a few key points, the world changed. Like the orange infection, like started to take over, like green path in the original areas that you'd been in, and started to actually block some rooms from being accessible, like through specific pathways. So even though it didn't specifically list like an Act 1, 2, 3 structure, I guess it kind of did feel like that anyways. But that was the first thing that I noticed at the beginning. I was like, okay, if they're going with the act structure, what's going to be like the main change? And at this point, I still don't know because we're still in Act 1. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Art-wise, Devin, I think you said, I think to me that you think it's much prettier.
I do. Every area I go into, I notice the colors, the depth of the background. It's brighter. I feel like in the first Hollow Knight, there were certain areas I didn't like to go back to because they were kind of dark and gloomy and like there wasn't much going on with the world. This is very, very pretty. Everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew more about the artistic direction of games, but I don't.
I'm not an artist in any way,
but I can tell.
Yeah, but seeing it, you're just like, wow. It is. I think that's one of the things that drew me to Hollow Knight originally was just like the hand drawing, like though, and how smooth like the character moves. Like they must draw so many frames of that character for it to look that smooth and like a little drawing moving by itself. So cool. And like you mentioned, the parallax scrolling of the backgrounds, like moving at different speed from you so that it gives it depth, just works really, really well still. And I think I agree. I think the at least first few areas are quite a bit more what's the word? I guess varied than the original areas in Hollow Knight. I do like Green Path a lot. Hollow Knight, the very green, grassy area. But like the lava, the Marrows, is that what it's called? The Marrow, the kind of lava area here at the bottom, and the deep dock are very cool and quite a bit more vibrant than the rest of that kind of was. So yeah, I think that helps a lot. I think the focus probably on it being like true 4K and 120 frames per second on PC, Switch 2, and PlayStation and Xbox, I believe, just makes it feel like way, way smooth as well. So I think all those things together make it look. I wonder if just her like what did she call it when you get it upgraded? Your cape being like a stark red kind of helps as well because your character feels like a little more vibrant. I love the knight in Hollow Knight, but even playing that game, I was like, wow, Hornet is such a cool character when you run into her a few times. And so it is cool to play as her in this one. So art, just fantastic. What do you think about the music?
Oh, man. I'm only 6 hours in, but there have been a couple areas I've come to where I almost just left us in that area because I streamed this game to people and thought, let's just take a break here and enjoy the music because I noticed different things about the sound also. You'd go into a new area and it was more, let's say, like a factory. So there's a lot of metal involved and it's like you're enclosed and the sounds were echoing. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. And I'm using very cheap headphones, but I'm noticing the sound direction is very, very good. And so far, I think the music is Fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also excellent. Same composer as the first game. I think his name's Christopher Larkin, if I'm not mistaken. I I listen to the Hollow Knight soundtrack a lot, and so that original theme song when you first boot up the game is probably like just one of the most recognizable game like tracks in my head, and none of them in Silksong yet are like stuck in my head that much because obviously I've only played it a couple of days. I haven't listened to the soundtrack very much separate from when you're playing the game. But I think you're totally right. Like it uh, kind of matches the way in Hollow Knight where the soundtrack of each area is unique. Also, like matches the visual vibe that you're getting from the different areas, and just those tiny little bits of attention to detail of the echo, like you said, and things like that. The audio and the music is just super great. Still, we'll see if any of the songs stick in my head as much as the Hollow Knight theme song, but I think the music's great all around. It's kind of hard to know where to go next. I guess story wise, what do you think of the story here in the first portion of the game compared to Hollow Knight? I can start this section if that's
Yeah,
unless you
yeah,
want to
feel
jump in.
free. Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say one of the things changes I probably like the most is that Hornet is a voiced character, so she actually talks. The game doesn't have voice acting; they just make like bug noises, but there's dialogue. Like Hornet talks to these other bug characters that she's meeting, whereas the knight doesn't talk. The like NPCs just like talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that helps a lot just in understanding like, hey, this character I'm playing as, what is her motivation? Like, what's she thinking right now, as opposed to what do I think they're thinking?
Yeah, I remember her at one section talking about how I think they're coming for me because of how I produce silk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, "Ooh, interesting. Okay, so
yeah,
she's being like hunted almost in some way." I'm not
uh-huh.
the best with story. Sometimes I quickly read the words and skip through dialogue, but I have noticed she's responding to the NPCs
Yeah,
instead of it. Like it took me a couple hours to realize that you're talking back and forth.
yeah.
Because in the first game, every piece of dialogue you read is all from
Is
the person
all.
you're talking to.
Yep, I agree. I think that change is really good. I like Hornet's voice actor as well, Dashin Dava, or like the weird things they say.
Ba pafanada.
Bafana. Yeah, that's a good one. That sounded just like the map maker's wife from the first game. So I think that change is really, really good. Um, and I think the story seems a bit more, at least to this point, more understandable from the beginning. In Hollow Knight, you're like, okay, I'm this bug. I fell down into what's it called? Hollow Nest? Deep Nest? I don't remember. And I'm exploring, and I don't really know why. And then I'm meeting some other bugs, and they're talking to me, but I'm not really talking to them, and I'm fighting some bugs. And you really have to pay very close attention to start to get like, oh, where's the Hollow Knight come from? Who's Hornet? Um, and a lot of that's there, but it's harder to grasp, I think, than in this scenario, which is a bit more, at least to this point, straightforward. So I like that. I like that change. I think some people love like the vagueness of the original Hollow Knight and like the vagueness of like the story in games like Bloodborne and Elden Ring, where you really only start to understand it if you like 115% the game and read every single document super closely. Um, but I appreciate like some of it being a little more straightforward. I think it'll be helpful for more people as well. And even for me, because just like you, I don't think I understood most of the story of Hollow Knight until I played it through like 2 or 3 times. And this I think will be helpful to like, okay, I kind of got the gist after my first play. It seems if they keep the same kind of track with how much she talks to the characters and stuff. Uh, what do you think about Hornet? Do you like playing as her? Like the focus on Silk in this world, like you mentioned, her being one of the I guess spoilers slightly from the first game. Hornet is the knight from the first game's half sister, and she is part spider from the first game. I think they're called weavers. And so she can create silk thread, which I guess is a very sought after thing in this separate kingdom, and is why she was kidnapped, and they were trying to take her to the Citadel for that reason. So,
well, as you know about me, every game I play, I make a female character. Don't know why I do it. You fell into the same boat for a minute. I don't know if
like
you're still
sometimes.
there.
Yeah.
But she's amazing. I think she's so cool. Love the red dress. Look at the needle. What a cool idea for a weapon.
Yeah.
Her movement's different, but it's fun. And as someone who has played Hollow Knight, I know that it's just going to get more and more advanced. We're barely into the game, and you start to, gain some movement things here and there. I've loved playing as her. I think that it's more difficult, but I like that. I want this game to be extremely hard to beat so that it's memorable for me.
Yeah. I agree. I like playing as her as well. She does. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's some cultural thing that's cemented in our brains. But yeah, if you play as like a female character, sometimes you feel like more attached to them or more like vulnerable, and you need to help them. I don't know why. That could be probably another discussion for another day as we get another ad here on our video. But I really like playing as Hornet, and her moveset and stuff we'll get into in a minute, but she's very fun to play as. The other kind of cool characters I like to this point, I like the map lady who sings the funny song, which I can't remember at the moment, but da da da, yeah, something like that. Very catchy. I love that they have a new like vocal calling card for like, oh, that's how I can hear the map person, because the map guy in the first one doing his little humming or whatever was so nice to hear. And I'm glad there's a similar thing, because that is exploring in this game is one of the parts that's most stressful, because it can be quite a distance between benches at times.
Yeah.
And so that exploration stress, just hearing that little tune is like taken down quite a bit. You're like, oh, okay, fine. Finally, I'm about to like find the map, and that might mean I'm next to a safe area or the next bench or something. Because usually before like a big combat section or a boss, there'll be a bench in close proximity, so you don't feel that same kind of the same kind of fear of like a super long trek back in combat stuff, or like a boss fight. But just exploring, you do a little bit. So I like the map lady. She's I don't know, kind of interesting as well. She looks, what kind of insect would you say she was? She looks more like the grasshopper.
Yeah, she looks like a grasshopper, praying mantis.
Yeah, praying mantis bosses from the Mantis Lords, kind of from that world was kind of what I was thinking. But be interesting to see if we find out more about her. And she's on like what would you call that? A quest to find her mentor who went missing in this world as well.
I found it interesting that they want you to find her in each area as quickly as you can, because it seemed like when you did, she would come and help you in fights.
Yeah, she does help you, at least in that one fight. I was like,
why are you here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was a kind of a cool moment, kind of an overwhelming moment, because you're already stressed from all the enemies, and then her like orange rings are flying around too, and you're like, what am I dodging here? But it was kind of cool, yeah, that she helped you with that fight. So she's cool. I think the other character I've liked the most so far was the lady singing at the door.
Oh, amazing. She's like playing a beat.
Yeah, with her little bell, like it's kind of like a cowbell, like ding, 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 singing to the gate, trying to open it. I think you see her a couple more times I've seen her one more time. So it'll be funny to see if they keep her kind of humor going throughout the whole game or whatever.
I really like the seamstress. I don't really know why. I think it's where he or she is.
Yeah.
You walk in this massive floating balloon.
Yeah.
And she's in there just weaving or something. I was like, oh, interesting. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of a cool aesthetic, but as far as the character goes, she wasn't that awesome.
Yeah, very cool aesthetic there. I agree. Um, the like flea caravan where you
Yeah,
they're pretty cool as well, and you're trying to find the fleas in this game instead of the like
caterpillars.
caterpillar worm things in the first game. So very cool characters as well. I'm glad that they have continued that vibe pretty well. It's hard to know now because we haven't seen all of the characters yet, but I would say maybe a stronger set of characters at the beginning of this game than the beginning of Hollow Knight, but we'll see. I do really like in Hollow Knight Zote the Mighty. He's like the guy who always thinks he's tough but is
Mm-hmm.
always captured.
Yeah.
He's an excellent character, so I hope that there's maybe one or two really memorable characters in Silksong to get to his level because Zote's pretty awesome. But yeah, really awesome characters as well. As far as this opening section and the areas that I've seen so far, we don't won't say too much about them other than maybe their names. But what's your favorite area? I guess the ones, yeah, of the ones that you've played in so far.
Mm, that's a good question. I haven't thought about this. I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
Um, I think it's kind of hard. The sometimes I really like the area and its vibes, but then I like the enemies of a different area better than the enemies in a certain area.
Right.
Um, I like the ant
I knew you were gonna take. That's
section.
the one that came to mind.
Uh,
I like the ants too. I think they're
yeah,
cool.
they're very cool. I think my favorite little detail about that section is there are little tiny ants like on the dirt or
Yes.
the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that's dropped, like a shard or a rosary, which is like the currency of the game, or even like enemies' weapons, if it's on the ants will like pick it up and
Take it off the
take it
screen.
off with them. Like such an awesome like little touch that they didn't need to do, but just adds to the vibe of that world. So I really like that one. Let's see if the other ones. I think I like this Morrow section here. It's the kind of lava one as well. Gives you the like ultra deep reds and oranges fast in the game because it's one of the first areas you get to. Um, very cool. There is one, and I can't remember the name. It's called the Gray Lands, maybe right after you meet the seamstress and get the ability to go up the jet streams. You can go up to the gray area, and I really like that one. It seems like okay, I've finally gotten out of the bottom three areas, and I'm one step above. And it's a bit like, and maybe I like the gray and drab scenes, but it's kind of more like Hollow Knight, where like everyone seems sad and it's like
Hmm.
rainy, and there's like this inn and this innkeeper, but the enemies there are like really cool. There's these weird like serpent dudes with tritons, and then these other guys that have big pairs of scissors. Um, so some really cool enemies in that area. I also like in I think it's that area. There's a section that is focused on bird enemies,
Mm.
and they'll like fly out of the background into the foreground to fight you, and those bird enemies are very cool. There's a pretty tricky or difficult like a enemy gauntlet in that bird section. That was really cool. So, anyways, I've liked all of them to be honest, but those are probably the ones I've liked the most. The ant section and the gray lands or whatever it's called. I think I stole yours with the ants.
Yeah.
But
You nailed my answers
the
as
ant one
well.
is cool too because that's where like they really double down on the pogoing, like like doing the down attack in your jump on these red flowers in order to like do some pretty tricky like platforming
Yeah. I
sections.
liked that that was difficult.
Yeah, I did too. And maybe that can bring us into like combat and builds and how Hornet moves. But I think one of the first things people have noticed about this game is oh, the down slash isn't like a straight down slash. At least when you first start, your primary crest and build is your down slash is a forward down that 45-degree angle kind of
Yeah, pretty
slash.
much.
So if you want to pogo on those red things, you have to be like up 45 degrees from the thing you're trying to hit. I didn't find it very difficult to adjust to that.
Me neither.
It just kind of changes your mind of like, when do I hit square to initiate that. But I know some people have struggled with that change a little bit. I like the change. I think the game feels different enough from Hollow Knight where I'm like, okay, this does feel like its own kind of unique sequel, as opposed to, oh, I'm just kind of doing the same things that I was doing there. So I like that change. Um, anything else about movement or the gameplay mechanics or fighting, I guess, that you really enjoyed? There's a couple of things I would point out, but I don't want to just
I know you love the animation of her.
Her animations
adjusting
are awesome.
Left and right.
Yeah. If you just are running left and right, even before you get sprint, just like her little trot, and then push the other direction, she kind of goes backwards for a minute before she like commits to the other direction. I love that animation.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about her movement is it's similar to Hollow Knight, where, or even old Super Mario, once you understand how to control the character, it becomes second nature in a way.
Yeah.
Where you understand her hitbox and how she moves and what directional input to apply in basically every scenario. And you may not be perfect at it because the developers or the game makers, they knew what they were doing. They were like, okay, we know this person is going to try to jump this gap. We're going to put a rock that falls right here, or this enemy that stops them from doing it. But once you understand her movement, you can really get out of a pinch if you relax your mind and really know her movements.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. With a little practice, you can become very good at moving the character and like it feeling natural. I do think the how fast she can sprint is super important for like how she feels. And as soon as I got that ability and started running around, it's a little, since it's so much faster at first, like you start running into stuff.
Oh, it's dangerous for me.
It is a little dangerous at first.
Yes.
And you start to remember like, okay, this next room like doesn't have enemies and it has a big gap I want to clear, so I'm going to sprint through this whole thing. And then other rooms you're not going to. But I really like the sprint. I think that the sprint is going to make like the speed runs of this game crazy.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Just because, man, you can get places very quick. And I love that it doubles down on how fast she moves. There's also a very cool animation if you're sprinting and change directions. She basically does the same thing, but slides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a cool one. So I love how she moves. As far as other changes to the game, I really like in Hollow Knight, it was basically what charms are you going to equip, and you can equip whatever ones you want with whatever ones you want.
Right.
As long as you have enough slots.
Yep.
For them. In this game, they've put them in like different classes. You have like yellow and blue ones, and red ones are called tools used for like attacking. And white ones are called techniques that are like charged up attacks. And so it does feel a little different. You have like a crest, which is like how you move. When you start the game, you only have one, but there are multiple. And we'll get back to crests in a minute. And then the crest has a bunch of different notches that you can notch charms in. But generally, the most you can do is 2 blue, 2 orange, 2 red, and 1 white charm. So you have to decide which you're going to do in those different categories. I like that change. I wonder if it makes like the and again, there could be some new surprises with the crests and stuff that we haven't gotten to yet in the first like 6 hours. But my one worry with some people is like, does that nerf the amount of like different types of builds you can do if like we're forcing you to use a few of different categories
and
of
charms have specific colors,
and if they have specific colors, I can't ever have like 3, 4, or 5 of the same type to like really min-max like one thing. I don't know the answer to that yet, but
it's an interesting change because you could, in the first game, you could almost make a build that was fully on collecting items.
Yeah.
map understanding and item collection, so I can get up money and just buy everything.
Yeah.
And this game is going to make that a little more difficult,
I think so.
unless there's stuff we don't know about, which I'm sure there is.
Yeah, there very well could be. And I don't know that that's even a negative to me because I loved the charm system in Hollow Knight, but I didn't usually go down just one rabbit hole of like I've seen some people use a build where it's like a damage build. Like if the knight takes damage, then it shoots out spikes and does like every charm that activates when the knight takes damage. Like they'd
Yeah.
stack all of those. I'm like, that's cool and a very like unique build. But I wasn't usually doing something that specialized. Um, anyways, I guess the types there seems to be orange is kind of like helpful things like the compass that marks you on the map. Um, and what other ones are orange? One that auto gathers the rosary currency, one that gives you more of the bone shard currency, which we'll get to in a minute. So those are like helpful ones. I think the blue ones might be like silk generation. I have one blue one, I think still only one, that if I take damage, I think I regenerate a little bit of silk. So that one's kind of cool. And then the red ones, I think, are the most unique or new feeling. And they're the tools. And you can have different tools, and they have like uh, an amount of uses that regenerates when you go to a bench. So the first one you get, I think, is this throwing knife. And so up in R1 for me, we'll throw a throwing knife, and I have 12 of them. Um, and I have 3 tools at this point. One of them is like a spike trap, got that one, and then another set of throwing knives that I think throws 3 at a time. So there's a bunch of different tools. You got to choose which ones you slot in. And when the game first started, I saw 2 different currencies. I was like, oh, this is weird. I wonder if like some bugs are going to want me to pay with the bone shards, and some bugs are going to want me to pay with the rosaries. But you learn pretty quick that no, the bone shards I think are only used for the tools. Um, and so you care a little bit less about like gathering them. I mean, you'll get them, and you'll be at like the cap of 400 pretty quick, but then you'll start using your tools a lot, and it'll go down and down and down. And then the rosary bells, might be what they're called, or beads. You basically gather all of those because they're the currency that you lose when you die, and that everyone wants you to pay for stuff with generally. What do you think about the tools system? Do you like that system?
I do, yeah. If you can just remember to use it, because you have an
Yeah.
extra unique ability that you build up using silk, and you'll use that one, and then you're like, oh, wait, I also have
Yeah.
a separate tool with that same input. I just have to be holding up while I use it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little difficult for me at first, but
Yeah.
it's hard for me. I'm just like sticking right now with the throwing knives because I think they're fun, and I really
Yeah.
haven't found another one.
Yeah, they're a good one.
Before we move on to the next section, I do have a theory that eventually you will have to get a crest that is a free for all. I really do, where you're going to be able to pick the swing type and then any charms that go on it. The reason I say that is just, let's say you've explored the entire map, you get to a boss that's extremely difficult. Maybe? Yes, I just think there's times in the game where you don't need to use the items that help you get more money or show where you are on the map. Those things become completely useless when you're in an insanely tough fight.
That's a good point.
And so we will see. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be silly not to have that once people have fully explored the game.
Yeah, for like end game stuff. I agree. I think that would be smart. So yeah, I really like the tool system. I like that you don't have to have any silk to use the tools. Because the other ones, the techniques, you have to fill up your silk bar, which you fill up by attacking enemies to use those. But then just knowing, okay, I've got this tool, I can use it at times when I'm out of silk or whenever really. So I like that system a lot as well. The crests I think are super awesome. They're basically, they adjust your attack, like length, your attack speed, the attack that you do when you're sprinting an attack, and what your pogo attack looks like. And there are some crests that don't have that diagonal angle as well. I think I've unlocked 4 crests so far. I don't know how many there will be, but they're very different. I just got one called the Beast crest, and I don't think I'll play with it. I like the Reaper. But the Beast crest, you don't heal when you bind with Silk with that one. It puts you in like a frenzy mode where you do extra damage, but then when you hit enemies in that frenzy, you can get health back. I wonder if you can get back more than 3.
Yeah,
Because
super
if you
risky.
could,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, super like risk reward there. I like the Reaper one because when you bind, your character kind of glows for like 10 seconds, and then any hits that you do to enemies during those 10 seconds generate these white silk orbs that kind of float around, and if you gather them, you're getting extra silk during that period. So, and I like the slight change to the attack patterns that it does. So I think the crests are like the coolest part of the combat system so far. But you're right. I do think late game it might be smart if they just have a crest that's kind of like a free for all, like build your own with some limit of 6, 8 charms that you can put on the crest. Do whatever 8 you want, because then it'll get really crazy. So yeah, love the crests and charms. Um, I guess boss fights. I we just saw this uh gameplay walkthrough that we're kind of watching here while we're played a character named Lace. That character seems like it's going to be an important character because when you defeat her, she doesn't like die. She like jumps away and says, "I'll see you later" or something along those lines. It makes me wonder if Lace is maybe the enemy that is putting like the I don't know what to call them, but like the zombie silk around, because you kind of saw early in the first area the silk seems to be consuming the bugs and making them like kind of turn on each other. Um, and she does seem to be a character that has that same kind of silk ability. So it'll be interesting to see if she keeps popping around. I'm guessing she will. Um, what's been your favorite boss fight so far? I think
Mm.
the first,
Probably her because it was difficult.
yeah, it was a little
Uh,
tricky.
Lace had a unique move set and would surprise you. Once again, I go back to the game makers knew what they were doing and they knew that you would be spamming the jump button in a stressful scenario. So
Yeah,
you try to like jump and she just jumps and meets you in the air,
yeah,
basically just smacks you. And I was like, okay, I like that.
yeah,
Because some bosses, I was like, I understand your move set in 5 minutes and now I'm going to destroy you.
yeah. Some of them I feel like were too binary, or I don't know if binary is the right word, but the boss's moves were too telegraphable.
Yes.
Like I think we talked about this before, but the kind of giant robot dude, what would you call him? The fourth chorus, I think was his name.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, he had the 4 arms. 2 of them would hit down, and the other 2 would hit left and right. I think that boss was mainly to help you like start to use the floating mechanic
Yeah.
during the fight, so that you'd float over the arms that go sideways and float over like the big gaps of the lava. And so for that, I think it was kind of cool. I also did like in that fight how there's a kind of a second way that you can beat the boss. In the last phase, these 2 jet streams pop up on the sides, and you can fly up. And there's this big like lava bomb that you can knock down on top of the enemy, which is kind of cool that there's a couple different ways that you can deal damage to them there at the end. So I liked the fight, but that one did seem the most simple in my opinion as far as like move set was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
The big worm, who's like your fast travel buddy, bone
Bell?
bell worm. I don't remember his
I
name.
don't either.
Bell Weaver. Bell something.
Bellmaster.
Yeah. I liked that fight as one of the first ones in the game. I died a couple times on that one from like the rogue bells falling from
Yeah, they were throwing me off too.
the top. And I liked his move set wasn't too bad, but just having those bells fall like added just a little bit more randomness to and you had to be on your toes a little bit more. So I liked that fight as well. I'm trying to think.
No one's gonna like the mole fight that comes early. He's coming down from the ceiling, just spraying acid all day,
Oh yeah,
straight down.
yeah.
And you just have to like, time this gap, jump up, hit him once, and then hide.
I've still not killed him.
I think once again they knew what they were doing. The only way to get to that fight is the people who dare try her early game mechanics of pogoing. You have to jump, bounce off of a bug, land on a bell, and then do a risky jump, bounce off another bug, and then you've got to cross this gap.
Yep.
Later on, if you had more movement abilities, that fight would probably be much simpler because you can sprint and get away.
Yep.
And so it was kind of fun to fight it early on. And they were like, okay, we're going to just put this really frustrating boss for any of you that have no movement mechanics.
Yeah.
If you make it to this section.
Yeah. Yep. I love that call out because I did get there, but just decided, man, the timing window is so small.
Oh man. Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna fight you later. And once you do have the sprint, you can sprint through that entire room. And the dude is pretty fast up top, but he can't reach you if you're sprinting the whole time. So yeah, they definitely thought that one through. That is a tough enemy, and that one hits you. I've noticed a lot more of the enemies in this game hit you for 2 damage.
I noticed that as well.
Which did happen in Hollow Knight, but I feel like was more seldom. A lot of them, even this big bug guy here, if he hits you with his like slash attack there, it hits you twice. Like it hits you and then like pulls you in and hits you again. So it's not one attack that does 2 damage, but it's 2 consecutive attacks. I don't know if you can dodge the second one or what, but yeah. So I don't know. I think the game's excellent. I guess as we close this segment, anything else that you would want to call out, Devin, before we kind of give our final thoughts here on the opening hours of Silksong?
Yeah, a couple things. As you play the game, you'll notice that some fights feel extremely epic. For example, yesterday, I was throwing knife in this guy, and he's throwing frisbees at me, and I was deflecting his frisbees with the throwing knives.
Oh, that was really cool.
I was like,
had not
"Ooh."
seen that happen.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
And then I've noticed if they're attacking you, if you're brave enough, you can just attack them right as they're attacking you, and you'll both just parry each other and bounce off.
That's right. Even if the attack would have hit you,
Yes.
parried it.
If the timing's right, just by attacking, it's almost like this parry.
Yeah.
The game's very well made, and they knew their audience. They were like, we're gonna troll you in specific areas. There's been times where I finally beat this mini boss. And I'm like, holy cow! And I walk past where he was, and a trap slaps me in the face, and I die.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah.
How did you put that right there? And then
keeps you on your toes.
it does. You come across a bench at one point, and if you're not paying attention to what's on the floor under the bench, you'll sit on the bench. Trap comes down, smacks you, and then if you go to sit on that bench again, it will slap you again, unless you find a secret lever to stop that from happening.
Yep.
They're like, we know everyone's going to go searching for a bench because it's been a while since they found one. They're so excited to sit on it. They're going to sit on it, and if they don't have enough health, they're going to instantly die and have to run all the way back here.
Yeah.
It's just funny. The game likes to troll you, but if you can just hop into the game, enjoy it for what it is because it's beautiful, that stuff doesn't bother me. I find it funny.
Yeah, I agree. I think that after games like The Last of Us kind of put those kind of traps in, where there's the one bench that Ellie uses in The Last of Us Part 2, where you can upgrade your weapons and stuff. And at the benches, you feel safe. But there's one of them in the game where you're at it working on your gun, upgrading it, and then some enemy runs up and like pulls you off the bench.
Yeah, that's so creative.
And it really is. I guess just a little tip so that those traps don't become too like annoying for you. I would heal often. Like I wouldn't be worried to use your silk. Like don't run around with 2 health.
I was doing that.
Yeah, you want to heal so that even if you get hit by one of these traps you're not expecting, which will probably do 2 damage to you, you're not dead. So heal often, and that'll take some of that frustration away, I think. Because I've definitely seen a few things that are like, they're trolling us here a little bit. But I think they deserve it. Or deserve to be able to. So, yeah, I think that's great. Any other last things, Devin? That was a great call out.
No, I just am really excited to get back to it on Monday, and I know that I'll just continue to enjoy it without a doubt. There's no chance that I'm not gonna love this game.
It sets like we already talked about at the top. It has such a great first impression in the first few hours, and like new systems that you're like trying to get the hold of, and then you do, and it introduces the sprint and like the new crests and things like that, and you're just like, man, this is so many like new things that they've given us here in the first few hours of the game. I am very excited to see how they use these things in later hours of the game, like in Act 2. Like, how is it going to ramp? My guess, not knowing because I'm still here in the same early sections as you, Devin, is once you get the ability to fly up these jet streams, um, is basically when you can get out of the bottom areas and get to like the areas right above it.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Act 2 and like the next areas, I think that there's going to be a lot more space. Like you're kind of tight and constrained here in the bottom. There's like lots of tunnels and bugs. But once you have the ability to like fly upwards and then like float long distances,
right,
and dash in the air and sprint and jump really far, it just makes me think of in Hollow Knight, there's that, I forget what it's called, but towards the end of the game, there's this platforming section you have to do that's very difficult. I think it's called the Path of Pain, maybe.
I've seen it, yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what this game's Path of Pain is like with just how much more space like Hornet can cover in the same amount of time. So I wonder if one of the reasons they, instead of going down into hollowness, you're going up this mountain is as you go up, I would imagine it has to become a little more open air in some of the areas. And so her moveset might make more sense in like that kind of scenario. So be very interesting to see. I also think the game is super awesome at this point. I think it's everything I wanted it to be. To be honest, it's everything that I didn't think that the expectations that everyone had could be met, but I think they are at this point. So super love it. I, as long as it keeps like this level of wow factor, it'll definitely be my favorite game of the year, and I just super love it. So I think that's probably going to end our discussion here about Silksong here after our first couple days of playing it.